Hello, class. I chose to do my project on Argentina. Let's zoom in and check it out. Before we get into the specifics of Argentina, let's check out some of its neighbors.
Okay.
Here we have Uruguay. We go up, Paraguay, and Brazil, the largest country. Argentina happens to be the second largest country in South America. Zoom in, Bolivia, and all the way down here, right along the side of South America, we have Chile. Population of Argentina is 43.85 million. It has a mainland area of 2,780,400 kilometers. Or, if we want to put that in miles, 1,073,500 square miles. It's the 8th largest country in the world. It is subdivided into 23 provinces, which we'll get into later. Its capital is Buenos Aires. We go over to Buenos Aires, and later on I'll be getting into more of the buildings that we can see within here with spectacular architecture. It's a big city. Stretches vast portions of the country, and it's gargantuan, really. Okay, so health is, of course, a big factor to everyone. So the healthcare system in Argentina has been divided into 3 sectors. The public sector, this is financed by taxes. You have the private sector, and you also have the social security sector. Life expectancy in Argentina is, averaged out to about 76 and a half years. The HDI rank of Argentina is 0.83, and that is ranked 45 out of 188 countries. To kind of put that in relation with the United States, the United States is 10th, tied with Canada. So they're not too far off, especially out of 188 countries. Let's move down to education-wise. The expected male schooling is 16 years, and the expected male schooling is for females is 16.7 years. Sort of the average or the mean years for schooling for a male is 12.2, and the female is not far off either, with 12 years flat. 63.5% of adult women have reached at least a secondary level of education, compared to 61.4% of their male counterparts. The GDP is 545.9 billion US dollars. The GDP per capita is $12,449.22. The GDP growth has seen its fair share of ups and downs. In 2015, it kind of had a negative 2.3 percentage in the opposite direction, which wasn't good for the economy, but it's seemed to be growing as of now. Major industries, sticking with the economy, in Buenos Aires, which is basically its main port kind of for import and exports in Argentina, you have food processing, motor vehicles, consumer durables, textiles, chemicals, petrochemicals, printing, and steel. Don't forget about agriculture, though. That makes up 54% of Argentina's exports. Their main agricultural export is wheat. They are the world's 5th largest wheat exporter in the world. Argentina's other main agricultural exports include soybeans, maize, or corn, barley, rice, flaxseed, sugarcane, cotton, citrus fruits, and grapes. Some of the natural resources that these people can take advantage of are lead, zinc, tin, copper, iron ore, petroleum, and uranium. Let's move into the politics. Start with a little brief history. Argentina remained neutral during World War II. In 1946, Juan Perón wins elections for the presidency. He had promised workers higher wages and Social Security. His wife, Eva Perón, or in other terms, Evita, which you might have heard in popular culture, such as that musical, but her name echoes eternally in history. She was put in charge of labor relations. Besides having an incredible speaking voice and rallying millions of people, she became the First Lady of Argentina. Her life changed dramatically when she married Juan Perón. He was a colonel and government official in 1945 and moved up in the ranks, of course. He became president of Argentina the following year, and his wife proved to be a powerful political influence. Eva Perón used her position as First Lady to fight for causes she believed in, including women's suffrage and improving the lives of the poor. She also unofficially ran the ministries of health and labor in her husband's government. She became a legendary figure up until her death, and like I said, her legacy still echoes on. During this, 1949, a new constitution, strengthened the power of the president, and Congress dominated by this. Then we get to some of the dark periods. In 1976, the first act of the the military junta, was to suspend the trade unions and the political parties and to close Congress. Apart from General Videla, the military regime consisted of naval and Air Force commanders overstepping their ranks. Subversives, sometimes even young college kids, were killed in the revolt against this. In Argentina, amidst the revolution, mothers and daughters and sisters would come together to form the Madres de la Plaza de Mayo. We're going to check that out right now. They put their lives in danger by being openly opposed to the government military state and pressured the government for answers to the disappearance of incredible amounts of loved ones. As we can see in this square right here, this is where they marched. Mothers would demonstrate and demand answers as to what happened to the disappeared in the plaza. Later on, human rights activists state that in the aftermath of the coup and the ensuing dirty war, some of 30,000 people, primarily young opponents of the military regime, disappeared. Unfortunately, probably were killed. In 1983, Argentina returns to civilian rule. Raúl Alfonsín becomes president. Argentina begins to investigate the dirty war and charge former military leaders with human rights abuses. Inflation, unfortunately, is running at more than 900%. Fast forward a couple decades, and on November 1st, 2001, as people's fears that the peso would be devalued, there was a massive withdrawal of bank deposits and the capital flight. Political crisis caused by the devaluation of the peso in November of 2001 caused turbulence within the presidential office, have seen interim presidents come and go. At one time, in little more than a week, there were 5 different presidents for the country of Argentina. Right here in the Casa Rosado is where the presidents would stay. Argentina is a presidential democratic republic where the president is the head of state and the head of government and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The government operates in 3 branches: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Let's go to the legislation. See right here, where parliament talks happen. The nation elects the president and the vice president through general suffrage between men and women. The election takes place in 2 rounds, where the first round determines the 2 leading presidential and vice presidential tickets. The 2 tickets then go for a second round, and the ticket gets the majority vote, and which becomes the president and the vice president. The president appoints the ministers who will be members of the cabinet. Moving into legislation, as we see in this building right here. Let me zoom in right there. The big pillar in the clock tower. Argentina has a bicameral national congress. This has a lot of influence from Mauricio Macri, who was elected in 2015 and was the first democratically elected non-radical or Peronist president since 1960. He currently serves as the president now. There are 3 kind of main parties, political parties in Argentina. You have the Peronist Party, the Cambiemos Party, which, to change sort of, and kind of that's what it means. The Radical Civic Union, that's embedded within the Cambios, and the Progressives. The Congress consists of the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies. The Vice President presides over the Senate, which has 72 members. They are elected directly in multi-seat constituencies by a simple vote. In Argentina, 37.1% of parliament is held by women. The judiciary consists of the Supreme Court, federal judges, and others with different jurisdictions. The voting age is 16. Argentina, as I mentioned, had 23 districts called provinces, and one autonomous district with hosts the national capital. Its big cosmopolitan capital, Buenos Aires, is centered on the Palazzo de Mayo, we'll jump back over there, lined with great 19th century buildings, including Casa Rosada, the